In order to get a free pass and live among humans, the devil's daughter is enrolled in a school and must spread chaos and convince young people to join the demons of the underworld. Today we're going to recap the story of the movie, How to Be Really Bad, from 2018. In Berlin, the capital of Germany, the devil talks to one of his advisors about strategies to increase evil in the world. Contrary to what many people believe, he is not a red guy with hooves and twisted horns, but an ordinary-looking man who runs a large empire. He even has a daughter called Lilith, who spends most of her time trying to spread chaos to annoy her father. When he arrives home and sees Lilith's teacher tied to a chair, the devil is furious and releases him after lecturing his daughter. At this point, the teacher tries to resign, but is forced to continue his lesson as if nothing had happened. The devil's main objective is to teach his daughter to follow in his footsteps so that she can replace him in the future. According to him, everything is allowed to make humans feel tempted to follow the path of evil, except magic. After several years studying how to be a bad person and influence people, Lilith can't wait to put her learnings into practice, but her father says she's still too young to mix with humans. When she learns that she will have to wait until she is 18 before she can leave hell, the young woman is furious and almost sets fire to the carpet in her room. That night, while he is sleeping, the devil receives a visit from the girl, who proposes a deal to him. The young woman asks her father to let her stay with the humans for a year so that she can prove that she can influence them to follow the path of darkness. On hearing this, the devil decides to take up the challenge, but says that Lilith will only be away for a week, and if she proves she can do the job, she can remain in the human world. The next morning, after closing the deal with her father, the young woman is sent to a school in a small town near the capital and is told that her target is a girl called Greta Bernstein. In the car, while on his way to his final destination, the devil hands his daughter a sphere called Lochner, which is capable of measuring the temperature of her emotions. Ideally, the orb should always remain black, because if the color changes, this indicates that Lilith is no longer evil. Upon arriving at the Bernstein family home, Lilith is warmly welcomed by Greta and her mother, Sybil. The young woman will be staying at the house for a week, and that evening, she will sit down at the table with the whole family to eat the dinner prepared by Gabriel. After dinner, when the whole family gathers in the kitchen to wash the dishes, Lilith asks Greta to hand them over to her and drops them on the floor. Just then, Sybil appears and Lilith is surprised to see Greta taking the blame for the accident. When she realizes how lovingly the girl's parents have taken her in, the devil's daughter feels confused, as she didn't believe that such human beings could exist. That night, after asking a few questions, Lilith discovers that Greta doesn't have any friends and finds some photos of a young man hidden inside her closet. In the morning, Lilith refuses to cycle to school and forces Greta to accompany her on the bus. When she gets into the bus, the young woman greets her classmates, but Melody and Daria completely ignore her. Then Eddie and his friends get on the bus and start picking on the other students. When he approaches Greta, he sticks a stick of chewing gum in her hair and Lilith decides to give him his comeuppance. After drinking Melody's perfume, she blows the flames out of a lighter and burns Eddie's hair. Frightened, the bully walks away and sits down far away from her. On arriving at the school, the young woman sees a group of people gathered around the building and the principal, who is also Eddie's father, tries to persuade Samuel to come down from the terrace. When Pappenhoff threatens to call the fire department, the young man decides to leave and goes to class. That day, the math teacher hands out a test to the students and Samuel is the first to leave the classroom, as he hasn't answered any questions. While everyone is trying to solve the questions, Lilith searches for the test on the internet and manages to paste in all the calculations. However, just as she's about to hand in the test to her teacher, Greta realizes that her friend has copied down the wrong questions and stuffs the sheet in her mouth. After leaving the room, the young woman reveals that Lilith was carrying test B and had copied down the answers to test A. If Greta hadn't acted, the teacher would have found out that Lilith had cheated and she would have risked being expelled on her first day of school. Luckily, thanks to her impeccable record, Greta is not punished and, during the break, Lilith sees the young man her new friend is in love with. The problem is that Carlo is a womanizer and is always after a new girl. When she discovers that Greta has never had the courage to confess her feelings to him, Lilith has a diabolical idea to break his heart. After losing the girl, she approaches Carlo and offers him money to ask Greta out on a date. At this point, she tears the ballot in half and says she'll hand over the other half in 3 days' time, when Carlo starts ignoring her. As soon as Carlo leaves to talk to Greta, Lilith goes after Samuel because she's intrigued by him. Suddenly, Eddie shows up to take back his stolen watch, but Samuel manages to escape. When he sees Lilith mocking him, Eddie orders his friends to teach her a lesson, but the young woman uses a sign to hit them. With ease, the devil's daughter manages to defeat the cowards who try to attack her and sends the delinquents running. Seeing his friends publicly humiliated, Eddie cowers and, instead of trying to avenge them, he decides to run away. Impressed, Samuel invites Lilith to a cafeteria and reveals that he has bought a one-way ticket to Berlin. The young man plans to leave school and move to the capital soon. During the conversation, Lilith reveals that she has never seen the sea, so Samuel invites her to climb the bell tower. That day, the young woman entered a church for the first time and felt goosebumps as she walked through the place. When she finally reaches the tower, Lilith sees the ocean and Samuel takes advantage of the romantic moment to kiss her. Frightened, the girl immediately pushes him away and leaves. When she gets home, Lilith is greeted by Greta and tells her what has happened. At this point, the young woman notices that her friend is different and comes to the conclusion that she is in love. Despite denying her feelings, as she holds the orb she got from her father, Lilith notices that it has changed color and begins to worry. Just then, she gets a call from her father and discovers that one of his partners has been fired for falling in love, because the devil believes that demons in love are completely useless. In an attempt to shift her focus from Samuel, Lilith decides to help Greta find an outfit to go on her date with Carlo the next day. Despite not being used to wearing makeup and clothes like that, Greta ends up liking what she sees in the mirror and thanks her friend for her help. Suddenly, she hears someone calling at the window and discovers that Samuel has gone there to talk to Lilith. When she hears the young man's voice, the redhead decides to go up to the roof to find him and Samuel apologizes for the kiss. The young man then asks her out on a date, but Lilith refuses and goes back to her room. In the morning, on her way to school, Greta is stopped at the door by her mother, who forbids her to go out dressed like that. When she tries to refute her, Lilith is also forced to change her clothes and they both go to school wearing knitted dresses. When they arrive at the bus stop, Melody and Daria don't miss an opportunity to tease them and Eddie tries to set Lilith's hair on fire. What he doesn't know is that the young woman is a demon and therefore can't be burned. Noticing the delinquent's presence, Lilith breaks his nose with an elbow and convinces Melody and Daria that Greta's mother is a great fashion designer who worked in New York. That afternoon, Lilith takes some photos of Greta and uses Photoshop to make them more attractive. The young woman then made a montage and created a fake webpage to prove that she was telling the truth about Sybil being a fashion star. During the break, Lilith runs into Samuel and the young man invites her to go to the beach. While the couple agree to run away from school, Greta is approached by Melody and Daria, who ask for a knitted dress. Before leaving, Lilith hands Greta a makeup kit and the girl goes to get ready for the date. At that moment, the redhead steals Eddie's bike and tries to learn how to pedal while she goes to meet Samuel. Minutes later, they arrive at the beach and Lilith runs towards the sea. After having fun together, they lie down on the sand and Samuel once again decides to kiss her. This time, however, Lilith doesn't run away and decides to embrace her own feelings. That afternoon, Greta accompanies Carlo to the school auditorium and watches Melody and Daria practicing for the school music festival. However, when he finds out that the young woman sings in church, he invites her on stage and is impressed by Greta's beautiful voice. While the trio are rehearsing the song, Professor Seidel appears and informs them that the director has ordered the band to be prevented from playing at the festival because he found a video of Melody and Daria circulating on YouTube. After watching the recording, the principal came to the conclusion that the girls would be a bad example to the other students and decided to cancel their performance. After spending the whole afternoon on the beach, the couple decide to stop for ice cream and Lilith discovers that she has received dozens of messages from her father. After answering him, the young woman realizes that her fairy tale will soon be destroyed, so she decides to leave and meets Gabriel on the way. At that moment, Greta is walking home next to Carlo and the young man invites her to join his band permanently. Just as the couple were about to kiss, Gabriel turns up and offers his daughter a lift home. Embarrassed, the girl gets into the vehicle and, when she gets home, she goes to her room to cry. Lilith immediately goes after her and tries to calm her down. Even though she's upset, the young woman thanks her friend for her kindness and says she's very grateful to have met her. That afternoon, while helping Greta harvest radishes, Lilith tells her about the bet she made with her father and reveals that she will have to return home soon, as she is losing her evil essence. When she hears this, Greta hugs her and says that she is willing to help her do evil deeds because she doesn't want her only friend to leave. The next day, the young woman takes the dresses that Melody and Daria ordered and, when she comes out of the bathroom, she runs into Carlo. Embarrassed, the young man approaches to continue the kiss from where they left off the day before, but the couple is interrupted by Lilith. After dragging him into the corridor, the young woman says she wants to break the deal they made and orders Carlo not to play with Greta's feelings. When he hears this, he feels offended and says that he didn't mean to hurt the girl, because he's really in love with her. At that moment, he returns the money he received from Lilith and tells Greta everything that happened. When she discovers that her best friend has paid Carlo to break up with her, the young woman is extremely disappointed and says that she would never have imagined that Lilith would be capable of doing anything to hurt her. As soon as Greta leaves, Lilith receives a message from Samuel and pedals to the beach to meet him. When the girl appears, the young man rolls up the train ticket he bought to Berlin and puts it in a glass bottle. Samuel then throws the bottle into the ocean and says that he has changed his mind about moving. Now that he has met Lilith, he intends to stay in Birkenbrunn so that they can be together. When she finds out that the young man wants to go to school and graduate because of her, Lilith panics and tries to change his mind, because she doesn't want Samuel to give up his dreams because of her. At this point, the girl says that meeting him was the worst thing that ever happened to her, because of him, she became a weaker and more sentimental person. After ending her relationship with Samuel, Lilith decides to leave and pedals back to school with tears in her eyes. At the end of the lesson, she sees Greta saying goodbye to Carlo before getting on the bus and decides to go after her. After getting into the car, Lilith approaches her friend and reveals that she broke up with Samuel even though she really liked him. When asked why she has made this decision, the young woman says that she will have to leave the city because of him, as her father would never let her stay in Birkenbrunn after knowing that she is in love. In an attempt to calm her down, Greta says that there's no way Lilith's father can find out how she feels about Samuel. The young woman then shows her the Lochner sphere and reveals that it acts as a thermometer for her emotions. Ideally, the sphere should have been all black, but now that it's pink, her father will easily discover that Lilith is in love. Frustrated, the young woman reveals that she tried to be bad, but failed miserably, and now she no longer knows what she really is. When she learns that Lilith's father will arrive the next day to take her away, Greta takes pity on her friend's pain and decides to help her. On Saturday, when the day of the musical competition finally arrives, Gabriel and Sybil take the girls to school and Greta returns the makeup kit that Lilith lent her the day before. That day, a charity raffle is taking place and Gabriel decides to contribute a giant zucchini that he grew himself in his backyard. It was with that vegetable that Gabriel won numerous competitions, and now it's going to be auctioned off. As she walks through the courtyard, Greta asks where Lilith's father is and the young woman says he'll be there soon. Seeing Melody and Daria, Greta decides to go and talk to them and asks Lilith to save her seat in the auditorium. Together, the three girls whisper about something they're planning to do during the show and are surprised by Eddie, who never misses an opportunity to remind them that they've been barred from performing. Just then, Carlo shows up to talk to Greta, so Melody and Daria decide to go backstage to carry out their mission. After confirming that the revenge plan against the principal is underway, the young man helps Greta take the zucchini into the school while Melody and Daria sprinkle powder on the participants' costumes. Suddenly, the devil appears in the school and, wherever he goes, people move away, because they can feel his evil presence from several meters away. When her father enters the auditorium, Lilith follows him and sits down next to him. While Professor Seidel introduces Principal Peppenhoff to the students' parents, the devil interviews his daughter and asks her if she has succeeded in converting Greta to the path of evil. Upon hearing this question, Lilith feels bad for not being able to give the answer her father is expecting, and the devil says he is disappointed in her. When he gets on stage, the director decides to give a speech about his trip to Africa and, as he goes through the slides, everyone in the audience starts laughing. Not understanding what is going on, Peppenhoff decides to take a look at the screen and discovers that the photos he selected for the presentation have been changed. Furious, he starts shouting at Professor Seidel and asks him what's going on, but he has no idea that Carlo is the one really responsible for the prank. After ordering the expulsion of the student who caused all that public embarrassment, the principal announces the performance of the Helmholtz Quartet. One of the members of that musical group is Eddie, who comes on stage with a red cap on his head. Before the quartet begins their performance, Peppenhoff orders his son to remove that cap, and everyone in the audience is horrified to see the young man's burnt hair. At that moment, Lilith looks at her father and realizes that he is proud of her. So far, everything has gone wrong during the festival, and when Eddie's band starts playing, the chaos continues. During the performance, the four members start scratching themselves thanks to the itch powder that Melody and Daria have sprinkled on their clothes, and have to run off stage. At this point, the devil starts looking for Greta in the audience, and, when he doesn't find her, he deduces that she is the one behind all the sabotage. Suddenly, the stage curtains are brought down and Carlo plays the music so that Greta and her friends can begin their performance. Seeing the students dancing on stage, the director tries to stop them, but they continue the choreography and force Peppenhoff to accept his defeat. Furious, he goes to account to Seidel and attacks him for defying his orders. At that moment, the teacher decides to strike back and knocks the principal out with a single blow. When he sees Greta, the strictest girl in school, dressed like that, the devil is surprised and congratulates his daughter on her excellent work. At the end of the presentation, Greta informs Lilith that she needs to make a statement and thanks her for encouraging her to be herself. The young woman says that if it weren't for her friend, she wouldn't be on that stage and throws a dress from her mother's collection into the audience. Immediately, the high school girls start competing for it and Sybil feels proud when she finds out that those teenagers like her dresses. During the break, the devil accompanies his daughter to the school corridors and congratulates her on her excellent work, as not even his most experienced demons would be able to corrupt so many people in such a short space of time. Before leaving, the devil asks if his daughter is sure she's ready to leave home to work in the human world full-time and Lilith says yes. Then, in order to earn her first-degree field representative card, the young woman has to pass one last test and her father asks her to show him her Lochner. Apprehensive, the young woman opens her backpack and takes out the sphere that was stored inside her makeup case. However, when she holds it, the sphere doesn't change color and Lilith is surprised. At that moment, her father asks her which city on the planet she wants to go to, and she tells him that she will stay in Birkenbrunn. After picking up her card, Lilith says goodbye to her father and Greta shows up to ask if her plan worked. When she finds out that her friend won't have to leave, the young woman hugs her and celebrates her victory. At this point, Lilith takes the opportunity to ask whose idea it was to destroy the festival and is surprised to discover that Greta was the mastermind behind all the sabotage. When she asks Greta why her Lochner hasn't changed color, Lilith discovers that she used black nail polish to cover the sphere and is impressed by her friend's genius. When she meets her parents, Greta apologizes for dressing like that, but Sybil decides to support her daughter and congratulates her on her performance. The young woman then goes to meet Carlo and reveals that their plan has worked. At this point, the couple finally manage to have their first kiss and it happens in front of the whole audience. After finding out that she will be staying in the city, Lilith decides to go after Samuel and runs to the train station. When he sees her, the young man gets up and decides to leave, as he is very angry with her. However, Lilith goes after him and asks for forgiveness for everything that has happened. She then confesses her feelings and claims to be in love with Samuel. Upon hearing this, the young man decides to accept her apology and states that he will remain in the city, so Lilith uses her powers to help him incinerate the train ticket. So what did you think of this movie? Leave it in the comments below. And if you liked the video, like and subscribe for more movie recaps. See you next time.